recording, and ready to go. Oh, we're going to have people going by today because we are in the studio live with a criminal defense attorney, Kate Mesic.
Good morning.
Good morning. And fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn a lot about the law. Hit it. I think we're ready.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good.
Okay. Let's get our mics
If
ready.
you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here,
Or you get to be a little hammy.
right here, waiting for you.
Come on, show us your moves. Show us your moves, Brian.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to live the life of your dreams. I am so excited to have Lily's Legal Dream Team. And Lily's Legal Dream Team consists of personal injury, family law, workers' comp, and for those of you who think you'll never be in trouble with the law, criminal defense attorney Kate Mesic. And she is in the house today to talk about how she can help you. Why would you want to hire a criminal defense attorney when we're so smart and we can defend ourselves? Well, think again. There are times where we need a little help from our friend. And if you have been in trouble with the law, you know it affects your entire family, whether it's you or your child. It is time that to take a sobering look at how this will affect you, not just now, but for the rest of your life or their life. So it's something that requires the whole entire family to really look into. And you really need someone you can trust. So that's why criminal defense attorney Kate Mesic of Kate Mesic Law. What is it? Kate Mesic of Mesic Law. There we go. Got it right. In Jacksonville, she will share what we need to know. If you ever get a DUI or if you're in trouble with the law, what we need to know. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Kate Mesic is here to do just that. Welcome, Kate.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. And I realize we don't have earphones on.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's strange.
I know, I feel like I'm naked. Oh my gosh. Okay, so share a little bit about your background and what led you to this field, Kate.
Sure. I was a prosecutor right out of law school, and my mentor of many years always said, if you can try a criminal case, you can pretty much try anything. So I tried my hand at civil law for about 2 years and decided I really like criminal. So I went back to criminal defense.
Very nice. Very nice. And the rest is history.
That's right.
Very good. Very good. And so you kept going that direction. But before that, you were a prosecutor?
I was a prosecutor in Marion County and tried about 25 trials there, and it was a great time. Definitely a different experience, but you know the other side.
You know the other side, and by knowing the other side, how does that help you today?
Well, the prosecution has to build their case, and on the defense side, we take it apart. I always tell my clients I'm the person taking pieces out of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. So if I know how they're putting it together, it's easier for me to try and take it apart.
Absolutely. And so do you find people when they call you confused or dazed, or do they even think that anything is wrong? They're in denial. How do you find the state of mind of someone who would come to you and sit on the other side that's saying, oh my God, I never thought I'd get in trouble with the law?
That's exactly right. A lot of people are start out in my office in a calm state, and then as we talk about what's really going on and what they're facing, sometimes the panic sets in then. Sometimes they come in a panic mode, and I have to tell them, we can't change the facts of the case, but we can certainly find a way to help you.
Yeah. And when I interviewed Kate, I wanted to make sure that I would go to her, because this show is about being a friend and that friendly conversation that we can have where we can trust each other. And so I remember sitting at your, on the other side at your desk and thinking, you're more than an attorney. You really are a coach as well.
Well, thank you for saying that.
But you really care for the people, because you know what, if it's a child, how it will affect them. And you are constantly thinking about, as a mom, not just as an attorney as well. So that's a really nice quality that you have.
Well, thank you. We are counselors at law, and I always feel that it's really a holistic approach. So if I have a young offender, if I can figure out what the problem is, usually the entire family is affected, and then we help the entire family.
Very good. Very good. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what is important during this time. Do you talk? Do you confess? Do you what happens in a situation like this? Everybody's so confused. You're not planning on getting a DUI. Well, that's different. I'm sorry. I just said, thinking out loud when I just said that, I realized, wow, that was so wrong. There are so many ways that we can avoid a DUI.
Certainly.
Yes. And so if you're getting a DUI, that's a totally different thing. We're going to talk about that later. But for now, if you have been in trouble with the law, or your child has been in trouble with the law, how will it affect their life? It's not just now, right, Kate?
It can have lasting effects for the rest of their lives, depending on what the outcome of the case is. So it's really crucial to figure out a way that it doesn't leave a mark, and then hopefully we can wipe it off their record with expungement or sealing.
Yes, and that's another thing that we're going to talk about later on in the show, is expungement and what that means and how important it is, especially when you're young. And we're going to continue our conversation with Kate Mesic when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you.
I'll be right here, waiting for you.
Always ready.
Okay. So good. Are we recording here? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, so are you ready to fasten your seatbelts? Because we're going to really dive into being a criminal defense attorney.
Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the most important aspects here is understanding why I would want to hire a criminal defense attorney, because I've never experienced that. But some people are wrongfully accused as well, and we need. So there's so many different scenarios that I wouldn't even know. So I would love for you to share different scenarios and why we need a criminal defense attorney. So when you're ready, are we ready? Oh my gosh, here we go. Cue the music.
I'll be right here waiting.
Who was it that I was working with one time that had
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. And today's teacher is criminal defense attorney in Jacksonville, Mesic Law, Kate Mesic. And for those of you who would like to learn more about Kate, it's mesiclaw.com. So you can go to mesiclaw.com. And for those of you who don't know where she is, she's at 6550 St. Augustine Road, Suite 305. Beautiful office, by the way.
Thank you.
In Jacksonville, Florida. And her number is 407-619-2510. Kate, the last time that you were on the show, we received some texts of people that already needed you. Share some of the scenarios, because I've never needed to hire a criminal defense attorney. I'm grateful for that. But I know that I have you now, that if I ever needed a criminal defense attorney, I know where to go. So what are scenarios that somebody would need to hire a criminal defense attorney?
Well, I will tell you that probably statistically what I see with the youngest offenders is usually either drug-related or theft-related.
Okay.
And then obviously a lot of DUI cases as well, because unfortunately DUIs can affect anyone, from professionals to just an everyday person. You never know. Unfortunately, get pulled over and end up in jail, and then it can ruin your life.
Yes, and we need to talk about when is enough enough. I mean, as far as your blood alcohol level, how much is tolerance, because that is the key. You might just have one glass of wine. Will that one glass of wine be enough to get you convicted? So,
and that depends really on a person. As you know, in Florida, the legal limit is 0.08, but then the way the state attorney's office or the state can prove a DUI is not just by breath alcohol level, but also were your normal faculties impaired. So it's not just alcohol, it may be prescription medication that you weren't supposed to be driving.
sure.
It may be illicit drugs. Someone could be high and driving, and that's still a DUI.
Yeah. No,
So-
and if there's a death involved,
Absolutely.
that's even worse.
It's prison time.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning.
Certainly.
You say that, okay, theft and drug related, but what if you're wrongfully, like in the wrong place at the wrong time, and somebody accused you of something that you didn't do?
Well, we certainly have to fight that case. There may be an alibi. There may be other defenses. So the state has specific elements they have to prove in order to be able to build the case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sure.
So my job is to take that case apart, or I like to say take pieces of the puzzle out. So again, there's a variety of defenses depending on the crime someone is being accused. And then I also like to submit significant amount of mitigation, just the background of the person to kind of give them a full picture of what's going on. It's not just what's in the police report, but here's the context of where this person comes from and what actually happened, and here's our version.
So let's take us through the process of saying, okay, I need a criminal defense attorney, and I'm going to call you first, of course, the phone. We call you. What happens at that moment? Do they speak?
And let's take the simplest of the cases. For example, it's a petty theft or maybe an underage drinking arrest. In that scenario, usually I get a call from a parent, and I will take that call personally and try to talk them off the ledge, so to speak, because their kid has never been in trouble and they're afraid their future is ruined.
Yes.
So I talk to them on the phone and then usually invite them in to my office, and we talk through the maximum, the minimums, the options. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of how the case is going to play out. Here's what I'm shooting for. Here's the middle scenario. So they have a full picture and they're not shocked afterwards.
I know, but when you're going through this, I think there's a bit of denial, there's a bit of shame, there's a bit of anger too.
Absolutely.
Because how much do you rescue a child? Especially if they've been warned after over and over and over again. How often should you just say, okay, you know what, I'm going to leave my child in jail for a little bit? Where do you draw that balance?
I think it's very hard for a parent to do something like that. Again, most parents just want to get their kids out, and again, it's probably the right thing to do. I would certainly hope that a night in jail is a sobering effect on someone. And you're talking about a scenario where we have, a 19-year-old that gets arrested on a possession of cocaine or something like this.
Wow.
Which really should not be the case, but happens.
Yeah.
And hopefully that night in jail snaps them out of it and they realize they don't belong there. But sometimes parents choose, and sometimes I say, well, they thought it was fun and the message has not been sent. Because, again, I believe part of my job is to get them out of trouble, but I also want to make sure they don't end up in my office again.
That's true. And so those are the sobering conversations you have with the parents, because they're not your kids, but at the same time, you know enough about the system to know, okay, if this is a joke or this is fun, or they want to be like one of those reality television shows that you see where it makes crime seductive.
Right.
So are you seeing more of that as you, let's compare and contrast when you first started working as a criminal defense attorney than where it is now. Are you seeing that there are copycat crimes, or what are you seeing today?
I wouldn't say that I see copycat crimes. I think that every single case is different, and usually there's a backstory to why this person is doing what they're doing. Or if they're truly innocent, that's a whole another issue.
Okay.
But if it's a drug-related offense, it's, in my experience, it's either a misguided teenager or a person, that's how they're dealing with their anxiety, or there's some sort of underlying issue.
Okay. And so how do you step in at that moment as a counselor and say, you know what, I can help you with this case, but your child needs more help?
I think I make it more of a suggestion and just say, first of all, it will help your case in criminal court, and second of all, long term, everybody will benefit from this. So would you consider, are you willing to do that? And a lot of times the state attorney's office really looks to that, because a person voluntarily, they initiated the step of getting help.
Okay.
It makes a difference.
So what are some of the things we need to know if we ever got arrested, or if we receive a letter saying that you're being subpoenaed, or something that's well, I don't know. Tell us what you would see in a situation like that. Does the person that commits the crime know exactly what step they need to go through? Okay, so let's walk us through the steps.
They never know. So the way it works in Duval County, if you're arrested, if there's bond set, you could be bonded out prior to court, or you'll go to first appearance in front of the judge. But the biggest mistake I see people make is they plea out at first appearance. They watch the video, they're trying to get out, and they don't understand that just by pleading not guilty, the judge will set bond and they'll get out that same day. But some people feel trapped, or they have kids outside. This happens on DUI cases a lot. So they enter a plea and they may have had defenses. So and then we have only very limited amount of time to try and set that plea aside. Because as you know, in the DUI case, it's a mandatory conviction if they enter a plea, and that's for the rest of your life. So
there's so much that we don't know.
Right.
And at what point, okay, so what should we do? If we should we not enter a plea?
I would say at first appearance, you should not enter a plea. You should plead not guilty and get out and seek counsel. Get educated on what's going on.
Even if they change it later on, if you guys agree that, the best thing is to say, I'm guilty.
Because if you're doing it later, you have made a conscious choice. You've been educated. You've evaluated all of your options. You've explored all the possibilities. Pretty much in 99% of the cases, you'll still end up in a much better scenario than if you pled at first appearance. So you should not do that. Plus, people really, they just spent the night in jail. They're not thinking clearly. They're panicked. They're alone, cold. It smells horrible. And they're just not thinking clearly. All they want to do is get out instead of saying, this will affect me forever.
Yes. And so are there situations where people will enter a plea and say, okay, I did it, but they didn't do it. And how do you get out of that? I want to get out, or I'm confused, or I didn't know what I was saying. How do you get out of that?
Well, in every criminal case, you can either plead not guilty, guilty, or no contest. And the plea of no contest and nolo contendere really means I'm doing this in my best interest. So you're saying, I'm not guilty, but you're saying it's in my best interest. And a lot of times that's what people will do at first appearance, and a lot of times we'll do that later as well, but to a different charge. So again, to answer your question, the rules of criminal procedure provide for us 30 days to be able to withdraw the plea, but that sometimes doesn't happen because there's a very limited number of ways, well, not ways, but why you could withdraw the plea. If the judge asked you all the questions and waived all your rights, you may not be able to set that plea aside.
Wow. So much to know. So if you are in a situation, so can you recall a situation where the case was hopeless, where the person thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to defend myself, or anybody can defend me, or I don't even know if somebody can defend me because the evidence is stacked against someone who is innocent. So how do you investigate? How do you become this detective?
Well, first of all, I do have a private investigator. And then the person involved, the alleged accused person, is usually the best source of information. Because my rule is write everything down that you remember. I wasn't there. I can't tell you what happened, but you can. The more details, the better is for me, and I can evaluate that, and then I can look for defenses for you. And then maybe it's a motion to suppress, maybe it's a motion to dismiss, or maybe it's simply mitigation, where the state attorney's office is going to look at it and say, this is a fluke. This person deserves a break.
Okay, so writing everything down. Should you write everything down while you're sitting in jail, or
No.
okay,
I mean, once you get out.
Once you get out,
Again, you're not thinking clearly when you're in jail. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I have an extensive questionnaire. It's over 20 pages long that kind of guides people through, what I'm really looking for.
Mhm.
I just tell them, spit it out on paper in chronological order, and that really helps me understand, because 2 weeks later, memories fade.
Really? Okay. So how quickly should you fill this out?
When you get out.
As soon as you
get
get out,
the day.
how quickly can they call you?
I usually get calls from parents or friends while someone is in jail still, before they went to first appearance. So less than 24 hours after they got arrested.
Wow.
And sometimes obviously after as well.
Okay, so let's talk about hiring you in the process. Is there a cost? I'm sure there's a cost involved. But how expensive can it get?
It depends on the case and on the complexities of the case. Unfortunately, DUIs are some of the most complicated cases that you can try. Sometimes they're more complicated than a lot of the felonies because there's so much scientific evidence that goes into it, both the breath test or maybe even the blood test on the alcohol level that play into it, and you have expert witnesses. But it just depends, because people hire me for simple things like leaving the scene of an accident, to driving a license
How do you
suspended.
defend somebody who left the scene of the accident? Maybe they were nervous?
Well, again,
Does that
they
count?
may have been cited under the wrong statute. Was it someone actually in the vehicle? Did they hit a pole? There may be technical defenses. Sometimes that leaving the scene really should have been a DUI, and the person left the scene. It just depends.
Yes. And so, those are some of the questions that when we're in that moment, we really don't know what we're going to do. We don't know you're just so confused. I'm confused even talking about it and listening about this. I can only imagine someone who is going through this and how they might feel. And so we're going to continue our conversation with Kate Mesic. We're going to switch a little to DUIs and some of the adult offenders that we might, because you can still be young and get a DUI. Yeah. And we're going to continue our conversation with Kate Mesic of Mesic Law, when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that presents such a strong, when you are in trouble with the law, if you are an adult and you commit a crime, how will that affect you? How does that affect your job? How does it affect your entire, and most importantly, even if you get free, I got exonerated, or I don't know what the proper
Case
term.
got dropped, sure.
The case got dropped. I still know I did it, or I still know that I acted irresponsibly. I still know that there is something that I did. You can't deal with that with the law. That's something I'm hoping that people will see, that they need to really truly look at themselves. Why did I do this? And what can I do differently next time?
Yeah, that's a personal struggle I'm usually not part of, but
Yeah.
I will tell you, there's so many different scenarios under which people even compromise and enter a plea when maybe they shouldn't, or trial is too much of a gamble.
Okay, I'm going to pause this right now. Okay, so we're about to go into our third segment. Can you believe this? Time just flies.
It's going fast.
Okay, and I know that we have some time. I don't know what he's doing over there, but he's looking pretty GQ. Did you see his gangster move?
I think I have to see it again.
Brian, we need to get you back here, because it's funny, people are walking behind us, and then when they look and they see themselves in here, they look like
and run away.
It's a little distracting, so I hope you're not too distracted either. And for those of you who are on Facebook over there, I wonder if that is going to be distracting to them. Okay, so we ready? Okay, hit it.
You can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
I've been wanting to adjust your mic.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my mission in life to encourage all of us to go through life with childlike wonder. When I say childlike wonder, I don't mean irresponsibly. And so when we are, connection is unavailable. Oh my goodness. Okay. So when we are in trouble with the law, the best way we can deal with something like that is to take responsibility. No matter if you decide that you are wanting to say, okay, I'm going to do what's right. And at the same time, you have the counsel of someone who is absolutely on your side. And I want to encourage you, my listening friend, to, if this is something that you know someone, Kate Mesic of Mesic Law, she is at 6550 St. Augustine Road, Suite 305 in Jacksonville, Florida. Her number is 904-619-2510, and the website is mesiclaw.com. And so I want to encourage you to become a subscriber, because when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, you get to see who my sponsors are. This person here is one of the people that are sponsoring the show so that the message of a new truth can be broadcast out so that you can learn it as well. It's up for you. I love the word consider. I say consider all the time. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you, would you please consider that if this is something that you need, that you will take 100% responsibility for your life and do what's right for you. Do what's right for your family as well. And so I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, check out my social media there, like me there, and if you want to watch this show on YouTube or video, you can click on any button that you want, podcast, and you can also call 407-373-5959. When you call, please leave a message, or you can text me, 407-373-5959. Now, before we went on the break, Kate, we were talking about, committing a crime or drug use and why we would need you. Before we go into DUI, I would like for you to share a situation where it just broke your heart. You felt, this is why I became a criminal defense attorney. Can you share a scenario without protecting the innocent, of course, that just touched your heart in a way that you say, this is why I do what I do?
Well, maybe without sharing any of the facts, I think that the ones that really touch you are a scenario under which someone's job is really on the line, and really it's not the job, but it's the entire family will be affected. If someone will lose their profession or their license, their livelihood, it's gone. They can't provide for their kids, and it's heartbreaking to see them cry in your conference room because they know something's happened or something is going on in their life that led them to do this, or maybe they just didn't realize, and one stupid evening and suddenly their career is at stake.
Yeah, and crime is crime. It doesn't, it could be a crime of passion, or it could be a crime of, I hate to use the word stupidity, because sometimes you're just not thinking. You're just not thinking at that time. So let's go into DUI. Speaking of not thinking, let's prevent a DUI first. What are some of the things that if you were to educate someone on DUIs and how to prevent a DUI, what are some of the tips that you would give someone?
Well, obviously, the easiest way is just don't drink and drive. Period.
That's right.
The other way, as I always tell people, that unfortunately that Uber ride would have been a lot cheaper than now having to hire an attorney, and also not just the attorney's fees, but the cost of not having a driver's license, the cost of having a job, or even the cost of suffering the consequences of a DUI, even if we were able to break it down. So many things that you end up paying for, both with money, time, everything else.
Yeah, visitors. Yeah, everybody's walking by. It's so funny. Look at that. Yeah. I guess he doesn't realize that we're recording. So Roger's coming in. Okay, so as we continue down this road, now you say, okay, don't drink and drive, but it could be drink and narcotics, or drink and smoke pot, or not drink or drive, and do something, a pill, a mixture of a pill and alcohol,
Absolutely.
can increase the blood alcohol level to the point that is where they get arrested.
Right, and it's not just the breath alcohol level or blood alcohol level, it's really whether or not they're impaired. Because it's the 0.08 is certainly the limit in the state of Florida, and that's the intoxilizer comes into this. But what about everything else? Sometimes people come into the jail and they've been arrested and they blow 000 both times. So it may be drugs, it may be just a prescription medication. Sometimes they don't even realize it would affect their driving.
Wow.
And they were impaired.
Well, does that make a difference? If I mean, every pill container says may affect do not drive, may affect cognitive ability.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do we take responsibility and say, oops, I better not drive?
You really need to be careful because there's a lot at stake here. I've seen cases, I've even had a case where a person didn't realize they even got out of bed. They took an Ambien. And they got into a car accident and they don't remember anything. They don't even know they left the house. They were in the car without shoes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
For real.
That's absolute.
How do you defend someone like that? Because will the drug companies be because I don't know if that is on the bottle where it says if you're taking Ambien you shouldn't be driving.
Well, I think there's some very serious side effects to Ambien.
Can you go back to the pharmaceutical industry and
well, we can get an expert witness to testify to that. I'm not sure that necessarily defends the case. In that scenario, it worked out. I was able to break it down to reckless driving, and the person kept their job and wasn't convicted. But I've seen these cases, and it's scary.
Okay, so DUI influence. Under the influence is basically, it could be anything.
Impairment.
So impairment. So this is what we need to know is that the DUI takes on a totally different it's a totally different animal when it comes to you because you can lose everything with this. So,
and here's why.
Okay,
that's a great question. DUI is different, even though it's a misdemeanor. Let's say a first DUI, just kind of a garden variety, you get pulled over for speeding, or maybe you get into a very small accident.
Mm-hmm.
If someone just pleads to a DUI, it's a mandatory conviction. The judge does not have the ability to withhold adjudication in that case.
Wow. Okay.
So
you don't want to say no contest on that one.
Well, you want to say not guilty at first appearance, and then hire an attorney.
Not no contest.
If you plead no contest, it's just like plead guilty. It's just you're saying I'm doing this in my best interest. You're still going to be adjudicated guilty. So the options there, we obviously either try to get it dropped or maybe stop suppressed and get the case dropped that way, or break it down to reckless driving.
Mm-hmm.
And we call that the wet reckless. And then the judge does have the ability from the legislature to say, I will accept your plea, but I will not convict you. And what that allows me to do later is to seal your case. I can still wipe it clean.
Okay. So when you are pulled aside, should you do the breathalyzer? Should you ask for blood work? Should you what is to the best interest of the individual?
So in terms of the blood draw, that comes in a very specific situations, and the statute explains that that's not something you ask for at the jail.
Okay.
Usually accidents are involved.
So when will that happen?
In a scenario where somebody potentially is unconscious or in the hospital, or it may be a forced blood draw if there was another party who was severely injured or dead. In terms of the intoxilizer, you have to remember on the bottom of your driver's license, there is the summary of the implied consent law. By accepting the privilege to drive in the state of Florida, you have already consented to the breath test.
Oh, so, I did not. Did you know that, Brian? I'm going to bring him into this conversation.
So
he's nodding his head no.
So that's the implied consent. So every time a person is arrested for DUI and they come to the jail, the implied consent law is read to them. If you refuse right then and there, your suspension is automatically for 1 year. If you take the breath test and it's above 0.08, it's a six-month driver license suspension.
So what do you suggest we do? Because I know that the outcome, but if I refuse to do the breathalyzer, is that going to hurt the individual in the long run?
I think it just depends on the case. I don't think it's fair to ever say take the test or don't take the test. People ask me all the time, what do you do? And I'm like, well, it really depends. Because I've had scenarios where someone took the breath test, it was right above 0.08, they had great mitigation, we were able to break it down, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone who has maybe even possible defenses but refused, and of course the state attorney's office doesn't like it. But when we take that to trial, obviously, if a person refused, then the state doesn't have that evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So they can only go on what the officer observed, or maybe the driving pattern. So, I mean, the way you think about it, the state either proves it, it's about 0.08 and the person was driving, or the person was driving and their normal faculties
That's
were impaired. That's the ability to walk,
drive,
follow instructions. That's why we do the field sobriety.
That's why we do the field
sobriety.
Okay, so they've consented to do the. Let's go through a scenario.
Okay.
You just explained someone that may do it, and it'd be easy for you to kind of work with them. And someone who doesn't do it. Let's take us down that series of events. The series of events of that individual. So if that individual decides, okay, I'm pulled over, here's a breathalyzer, is that what happens right away?
No. So usually the officer will ask them some questions and then evaluate the case and ask them to do field sobriety exercises.
Yeah.
That's where you see somebody on the side of the road.
Okay, and we're going to continue this conversation when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I didn't realize music had started.
I'll be right here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That is.
I was trying to
Oh, good. Can you say that on the recorded?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. That's no. You hear about this all the time. What is right? What is wrong? And so don't, I don't want you to break any rules because
it's really giving legal advice to somebody, and I can't do that. I don't know.
No, but you know what? That is a great answer, though. You can't tell us what to do because I can always go back to you and say, hey, Kate Mesic said I didn't have to do it, or that I have to do it. So I can see that answer. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, not at all. And I'll give you an extreme example, and I don't know if you want me to do that on the air. I've had a gentleman who refused because he read it on either a koozie or one of those table protectors. Seriously, he said that's why I refused. A lawyer said I should refuse, and I had the hardest time breaking that case down. And he's like, otherwise I would have taken the breath test and no problem. I'm not suggesting you take it. That certainly will hurt your case and give the state evidence, but I also can't say don't take it because you're breaking the law.
Yeah, I got it. And I hope that you will. Now, somebody that gets arrested, do they get a one phone call?
Absolutely.
And what if they're not given that phone call?
Well, I think there's an issue there, but you can call from the jail. I don't think it's just one phone call. So, I mean, those calls are always recorded, but you certainly will get a chance to contact somebody.
Amazing.
I've never had an issue.
Amazing. I think that, when it comes to criminal defense attorneys, you think, okay, I can control whether or not I'm going to steal or I'm going to do drugs. I can control that. I know that if I do it, there's a consequence there. But when it comes to a DUI, alcohol is so acceptable. Drinking drugs or, being under the influence or impaired, that right there, once you're impaired, your logic and your choices now get a little bit more diluted.
I agree. And it's also maybe someone who just had 2 glasses of wine in the restaurant and got a very hypersensitive police officer who decide they are in fact impaired and maybe they were not, and we have to fight that battle.
Yeah.
But it depends on every single person. My tolerance is so different from yours.
Hey, listen, anytime you are texting, driving, trying to reach for something, you might look like you're impaired.
Absolutely.
And so, in a situation like that, many people don't even know they're driving because they're so distracted. And I do a PSA for NDD, which is end distracted driving. And even for me, it's difficult to just put my phone somewhere. Sometimes the phone falls under and you're trying to reach it and you might not. It may have been just one glass of wine and you're just reaching for the phone and it looks like you're impaired.
Right, because the officer needs to have a reason to pull you over. There needs to be reasonable suspicion.
Let's talk about that on the air. I think we're about to get back on the. So, are we ready, Brian? Yeah. I know it. I always have that intuition when we're about to get started. So this is our last day.
I'll be right here waiting for you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. And today's teacher is Kate Mesic. She is an attorney, a criminal defense attorney, and gosh, you know what? Sometimes you can control things by you saying, follow it through, and you think it through, and you realize, this is something I'm not going to do. But perhaps you find yourself in a situation where you just get swept up into the mess of somebody else, and you might need to hire a criminal defense attorney. I want to encourage you to consider Kate Mesic of Mesic Law, and she's on 6550 St. Augustine Road, Suite 305, Jacksonville, Florida, and her office number is 904-619-2510. I can't believe how much we can talk about DUIs and criminal. And here's something I've never really experienced before. I've never had a need. I'm glad that as my youngest child graduated and has left the home, we haven't needed to do something like this. But there's so many different cases that you find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time. How do you help someone like that?
Well, when you said something about your youngest child, I always think of scenarios where you have the young, I guess the freshman in college, and then you get the fake ID phone call from their parents. God forbid they got charged with a felony, because some of those cases can be felonies, and they don't most of the time don't proceed as felonies. But the parents are panicked, and rightfully so, because you don't want your kid to do something stupid. And a lot of everybody had a fake ID. It's just some people get caught.
You don't even think of it. It's like, no big deal. But it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Even if it's a misdemeanor. Again, if you enter that plea and you get adjudicated, that 18-year-old now has a conviction.
Well, let's talk about expungement. Expungement. What does that mean, and why is it important to hire an attorney, a criminal defense attorney, to defend with a DUI?
Sure. Again, with DUIs, the difference is if we can break it down or we can get it dropped, we can then either seal it or expunge. And the only difference between a sealing and an expungement is who really qualifies.
Okay.
So for an expungement, people who had their cases dropped, dismissed, or maybe it was dropped through a pretrial diversion program. They qualify. But if you entered a plea and you had adjudication withheld, then you qualify for a sealing.
Okay.
So that's the difference. But the biggest thing I want people to remember is if you've ever been convicted of any crime, you can never seal or expunge. That's why it's crucial to get advice from a lawyer before you ever enter a plea. So I'll give you a drastic example here.
Please do.
I represented a gentleman on a DUI case and was able to break it down to reckless. And we went to seal it. And he forgot that 10 years ago, when he was 18, he entered a plea to either possession of alcohol under 21 or something stupid like that. And he was convicted. So I couldn't seal that case until I went back and was able to convince the judge to take mercy on him and withhold adjudication on that case. And then we were able to seal the DUI. Well, I guess what became reckless driving. Because even if you have petty theft from 10 years ago, and now you're facing much bigger charges that were dropped, I can't do anything if you were previously
convicted. How long is this? I mean, is there a statute of limitation of the things you do in the past? I mean, there's so many cases now that you hear about people, women coming, the Weinstein effect. What was his name? Weinstein. I said Stein. So, people are coming forward and saying this happened to me 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Is there, like, if I commit a crime, will it follow me everywhere I go?
It depends on what the state has done. If there's a warrant or if you left the state, that time may be told. But what I'm talking about in terms of expungements is if you've entered a plea to something and were convicted, it doesn't matter how long ago that was.
So that always stays with you. It's not like bankruptcy that goes away and falls off in 7 years. This is so crucial.
It's crucial because, again, or I will tell you, in the city of Jacksonville, sometimes they will issue those tickets for possession of alcohol in the wrong place, and it actually says just pay the ticket. Well, if you pay the ticket, you've entered a plea to a criminal offense. That's a municipal ordinance, and that's still a conviction.
Okay, so give us some warning here. What can you? Let's talk about what can you kind of prepare us for. First of all, I just want to say the number once again. 904-619-2510 is the number for Kate Mesic, and you'll get a hold of her. And if you want to check her out online, you can go to mesiclaw.com. And of course, you'll also hear commercials from Kate Mesic. She's absolutely fabulous. I love the fact that you don't just represent as an attorney just the facts. You really get emotional and involved in these cases because as if they were your child or your brother or sister or friend. What I love about you is that you look beyond the case and you think about, how would I advise a friend? So,
well, thank you for saying that, Lily. You get to know clients through these cases. They always say that in criminal cases, really the best comes out of people, not like in family law. It's still a very stressful scenario, but I try to tell people, I need you to be thinking clearly, because if you don't give me the whole story, if I don't understand what's going on, I can't help you.
Okay. So what do you want us to know about Kate Mesic as an attorney, and why are you different than any criminal defense attorney out there?
I will tell you,
I've been bragging about you. Well, what would you say? Because you know other criminal defense, and this is not saying that other criminal defense attorneys aren't good, but what makes you unique?
I think communication is very, very important with your clients. So my absolute rule in the office is to keep clients informed and to respond to those phone calls as quickly as humanly possible, simply because you get that panicked phone call from a parent. Mm-hmm. I've taken calls at 4 o'clock in the morning before on a DUI with my mother in Pennsylvania. And she was like, "You're the only person who picked up. I'm so grateful." And she's crying on the phone. And of course, I felt bad about my own kid, but I'm going, I'll be in there in the morning. Yeah. And you show up. Obviously, having been a prosecutor, that helps. Most of us who are in the criminal defense field were either prosecutors or public defenders, but that certainly gives a different perspective.
Sure.
But I do think communication is absolutely crucial.
See, the way I think, okay, if I get a DUI, I think, okay, I drove, I deserve to get a DUI. What you do is something different. You help break it down to a point where you can say, okay, yes, you did something. Maybe we can just get it to a lower. Is that a difficult thing to do?
I don't think it's a difficult thing to do. I feel like I'm helping someone, and some folks show up and they simply say, "Well, I did it. I don't have any choices here. What am I going to do?" And I say, "Well, hold on a second. This will affect you forever. Let's find a way. I appreciate you taking responsibility. That can be communicated. There may or may not be defenses, but it doesn't mean this should ruin your life. You really should step back, think about it. The biggest thing I can tell someone is make an educated choice.
And we haven't even talked about what happens. We're talking about you and what happens to you, but what if you kill somebody in the process?
That's the scary part. And then obviously the consequences are a lot more severe than just the regular DUI, for example. I'll tell you, I don't handle those cases. I choose not to. And part of me says, if I haven't tried them as a prosecutor, I don't feel comfortable taking them on. So I think experience matters.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Kate, I'm so glad that you're here today, that you're not just someone that has become a sponsor. I would never, and this is, I'm very picky, as you know. I drilled her. I interviewed her.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So before she decided that this was going to work, but we decided that this was going to work, and I'm very grateful that you're not just here to help the people of Jacksonville. And what other areas can you help, by the way? Because we were talking about Jacksonville, but
we handle Duval, Clay, St. Jones, Nassau County, sometimes even Baker County as well.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, I'm just grateful that you are allowing the broadcast to this new truth that people think that we live in a flat world versus we live in a sphere. We need to change our perspective and grow. And if you're ever in trouble with the law, what you need to do is call Kate Mesic of Mesic Law. The number is 904-619-2510. And we're going to continue. It's not going to be the last time. Next time we all have a even better and deeper conversation. I wanted you, my listening friend, to get to know what it is like to meet Kate Mesic. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and to you, my listening friend, this is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever! I love this animated girl! Wonderful. Okay, so I think this is Yeah, I know, but is it working? Is it working? Recording. I don't know. Maybe the battery. Oh, you know what happened? Oh, okay.
Want me to stop it?
Yeah.